Hey there, Rivermen fans. I'm Jason Ruff, and welcome to the Dry Dock Podcast. Hey there, Rivermen fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Dry Dock Podcast. It's the podcast where we take a look back at the 40th season of Peoria Rivermen hockey, the championship season. We also get a chance to talk to famous Rivermen past and present. And this week's guest is someone that you all know and love. He has been a staple of Rivermen hockey for a number of years. He is a record-setting goaltender for the Peoria Rivermen, known as Big Time because of all the big saves he makes. I, of course, am referring to Eric Levine. Eric, great to see you, my friend, repping the JMP hoodie as you have for a good part of the season, especially in the playoffs, and obviously repping the partnership between Midwest Goalie Academy and JMP hoodies. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first and foremost, how are you doing, my friend? How's the summer been for you so far?
What an intro. Thank you very much. You're way too kind. I thought you were going to throw like yoga extraordinaire, kooky guy.
Well, that's just for the people who know you.
He's loved by some, liked by a few. I'm good, man. It's been like a very surreal post season vibes, because most seasons when they end, you're kind of bitter, you're a little sour. You know, if you don't win the championship, if you don't reach that ultimate plateau, you go into the season with a little bit of like regret from how the season went.
Mm-hmm.
And the last month and a half, like it just still feels almost surreal in that I haven't exactly like clicked that it's like, wow, that like we achieved our ultimate goal. And it's just it's a more of a feeling of accomplishment, and you're satisfied with the effort that your team put in, and you feel good about a well-deserved break after all that happened. You don't feel like, oh man, I wish I want to go back out there tomorrow and like replay game 4 or whatever. So yeah, there's a very large sense of like relief, weight off the shoulders, accomplishment, and more satisfied with, all right, we did what we set out to do, and now you get to enjoy summer, as opposed to some summers, you know, you feel a little bit regretful. You still feel a little bit of that fire. So it's just a very calming sense. So it's been tough being away from the guys. It's such a close group. Love being with everyone. So you kind of miss the camaraderie. You miss being at the rink every day. But, you know, you have a very satisfied feeling. At least that's how I felt the last month and a half.
Absolutely. You and Coach John Guicciardel, we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he straight up told us he sleeps better at night now that he's gotten that weight off the shoulders, so to speak, of bringing a championship to Peoria at long last. But Eric, you mentioned this team and how close they were. You've been on a lot of teams, championship winning teams. What was it about this group that enabled them to gel so well with each other? It seemed like everyone had each other's back. It was a team that you wanted to not only be a part of, but to go to bat for the guy next to you.
There's a lot of factors. It's something I've thought about because I have been on a lot of teams. I've seen dynamics. I've seen just about every type of team that you can be on. And, you know, it's funny, the 2 pro championship teams I've been fortunate enough to be a part of kind of share more similarities than they do differences. And so I got to kind of thinking about comparatively, you know, I wasn't in Newfoundland as long, so I didn't know the guys the best, but I was still there for like 3 months. So you get to know guys pretty quickly. And as a team, what that team did and what our Rivermen team shared is there was always a sense that after a loss that like we were okay. There was never panic in the room. Even when we went and lost to Knoxville, Huntsville, you know, towards the end of the year. And that could be a defining moment for a team, right? And we had a really good kind of feeling after that. You know what? This is what good teams have to do. They have to go through adversity, and it's how you handle it. And collectively, I think every guy in the Rivermen room this year was accountable for themselves. Like they wanted to play well. Like I wanted to play well because I didn't want to let my teammates down. It was not I want to play well because I personally want, you know, the accolades, or no guy was like a selfish player. And I think that's not something you can exactly look at on day one and be like, yep, we have all these guys that are going to be unselfish. But as the season goes on, as adversity happens, character is revealed when the times are tough. And we had so much character from the guys that just wanted to do it as a team rather than individually trying to better themselves. Evidenced by, I think Mitch could have taken a call up at any time during the year. JM could have taken a call up. Obviously, Hags could have. Neville could have. So many guys, I think, could have, if they really wanted to, just go and play as high level like Bearsy for him to stay all year. But they wanted to be part of the Rivermen. Like they wanted to be here. I wanted to be here. We kind of realized that, hey, we have a really special opportunity. And when you get guys that buy in to playing for the Rivermen rather than their last name, that's really, really, really rare, because I've been on a lot of teams where even if it's just like three guys, like let's say three guys in the team play with that selfish attitude, it starts to trickle and starts to find its way into the room collectively. But we had none of that. And that was, I think, the kind of the thing that took us over the top this year.
Incredibly insightful words. And I love that you mentioned that bit of adversity from that second deep South trip, the 3 straight losses to Knoxville, Huntsville. You're right. That could have been a defining moment in any team season. But I think at least part of the reason why it wasn't was because such a good bedrock was placed earlier on in the season. You were a big part of that. 20 consecutive starts, a new Rivermen franchise all-time record. You won a vast majority of those games and really kind of steady the ship when there was a lot of roster jumbling and whatnot. When you are playing so many games in a row, how do you, as a goalie, stay fresh and focused, both mentally and physically?
And just one thing to tail from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we went up there, because we did that exact same trip like a month before, and we took 5 or 6 points and we lost in a shootout. We almost could have swept that weekend series against 2 of the hottest teams in the league. So to have the first leg of that trip go so well, and then to come out of there with no points, it's like, man, that really could have, I think, kind of demoralized our team. But it sort of showed, hey, when we're playing our best, we can beat these guys, and we know that we didn't, and we knew we had to bring it in playoffs. Like that was a good measuring stick. It was kind of a good, like, hey, it's good to get your kicked sometimes, because then you kind of wake up. And I think it kind of woke us up that if we don't play well that was a 3-game series, right? And we would have been out of the playoffs in round 1. So just going back, like it was interesting to compare. We had such a successful, the best trip we could have, to then the worst. So it was a good kind of comparative weekend for us. But kind of going to your question, to me, as I've grown and I've matured as a goalie, as a person, you realize that every game is its own story. That's something that Guy told me my first year or second year, that he kind of said it casually, like after a game or something. And it always stuck with me, that it's like each game individually has its own story, its own flow, its own momentum. And as a goalie, you try to immerse yourself in the flow of the game, because sometimes you're sitting there with no action and sometimes the action comes, right? So you are on the ice, I'm on the ice for the entire 60 minutes. So you get a really good sense of how the game is developing, how the game is moving, what's happening, where are the momentum swings, the ups and downs. And for me, as this game goes up and down, right, I try to stay like as level as I can. And so I just tried to be in the moment of those 2.5 hours. Like truly, what happened before was gone. I can't control what's going to happen tomorrow, but like right now I can be dialed in for 2.5 hours. And that's the approach that I took. And I said, each game is its own. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my best. If even physically I didn't maybe feel the best on a Sunday versus a Friday, I still mentally was able to overcome and stay locked in. And so I just totally was at peace with whatever the score was. I was just going to be dialed in. I was going to give our team a chance. Our team is so good that I don't ever feel like I have to go out there and steal a game. I played for a team in Indianapolis. I played for the Indy Fuel one year, and our team was so bad that if I gave up legit 2 or more goals, I felt like we were going to lose the game. And that puts a lot of pressure on you, because let's say you give up an early goal, you're like, oh man, like one more, and like we don't even really have a chance. And with the team this year, we were so dynamic offensively that at any point during the game, I felt like we had a chance to win. So for me, it made my job so easy that just go out there, make the saves I'm supposed to, keep us close, and our team's going to do the rest. And like, it's the easiest job for me. Like playing 20 games, it seemed easy because of our team and how good we were, that as long as I was locked in mentally, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Every game is a story, man. I tell you what, I know everyone out there in Peoria, including myself, is hoping you come back for another year next year. But barring that, a consolation prize would be to get you in the booth as a commentator, man. Good heavens above. This is your tryout, Bill, man. You're nailing it right now.
I will definitely dabble in some commentating at whatever point, whenever my career ends. I would love to come back and do some
You should.
commentating.
I think you'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's just hockey is such a unique sport, and there's so much going on. There's so much going on watching the game, and you see the game, but then there's insights into the game that I've really grown to appreciate, the little details and like things that happen that don't seem significant in a game can carry forward through and through to then eventually break through, right? It's like a goal happens. Well, the goal might have happened on that shift, but it's because of what happened the shifts before and the guys doing their job that then lead to the goal happening, right? There's so much that happens previous to the goal that it's like understanding the development of the game it's so complex because it's changing so fastly. And I really have a unique vantage point of seeing the game play out in front of me. So I think I have a unique perspective when I see things. Other players, like, they're into it, so their perspective is so different because they're with the puck, guys are hitting them, it seems like things close off quickly, but I can see the development of the play, and I can see guys coming off the bench, coming back on, how they are the next shift. Just like little things, a lot of plays, like if you watch like Nev's like play, he makes so many plays in his end, or even Dale, right, who doesn't get the most points but does so much defensively, that it's like when he makes a good play defensively and leads to a clean breakout, like he'd go in the corner, two guys on him, makes one little shift, comes over, makes a pass, and exits the zone. That then takes away 30 seconds of what could have been contained zone time where your team gets tired. And then the next shift, maybe you're not as fresh. Maybe the puck's been in the zone and then you don't have the play offensively. But like guys like that lead the play up, and then it results in a goal minutes down the road, because in this league, you only play 3 lines really. So you wear teams out a lot. And that's something Guy is really good at. It's like you want to have offensive zone time to build up lactic acid to then eventually break that wall down and score. But it happened because of the last 5 minutes, not just the last 30 seconds. So that's the cool thing that I've been able to see as a goalie, and particularly with our team, like how good we were with the puck. So yeah, it's just a really cool perspective being in that, because you see the play develop, you see a lot happening where other guys might be lost in their shift and they might only see what's happening while they're on the ice with the puck, which is a very different skill set. But for me, I get to kind of see it all play out in front of me. So that's a really cool thing to be able to be kind of immersed in.
You see it all and you get a very unique perspective, but you also have, I think, a unique perspective of being a record-setting goaltender, Eric, and you tied Kyle Rack in most appearances in a single season with 43. You already have the most minutes in a single Rivermen season in the SPHL with over 2,400, and most wins in the Peoria Rivermen history in the SPHL. But I think one of the more significant moments, at least for this season, looking at just your reaction, was getting your 100th career professional victory on the road in Quad City. Tell us about that game, how it played out, and obviously your reaction, because I believe that was the overtime winner when Alec Bear just took the puck at his own blue line, stole it away, went down the ice on a breakaway, and called game, if my memory serves.
Playing in that game, I just remember it was their final home game and they were packed. Like, sold out crowds are awesome, especially it's more fun on the road because everyone there wants Quad City to win, right? It's like you and the team, you're the only ones that think that you guys can do it. And that game in particular, for me, I had been sitting on 99, and it's like, as much as you don't think about it, it's kind of there. So it's like one of those things like, all right, I have to acknowledge that whether it's a large milestone or it's not, it's still something that's in the back of your head. And like, you want to get it done, for me more because I wanted to get it out of the way so you can just kind of move on. But significantly, it was important to me because it had kind of been almost the culmination of 9 years of a lot of seasons that didn't go great. And I had a lot of seasons that I played in the coast where I didn't play a ton of games. So I didn't have a chance to win 30 games like I did this year. Some seasons I only had 5 or 6 wins. And you start to think like, all right, 5 or 6 a year, like that's going to take forever, right? And then you kind of get closer and closer and you get up and you're playing the season. So it's like personal records don't really, like, they don't matter in the moment, but afterwards looking back, you're like, okay, that's an achievement that I put a lot of emphasis on it was hard to do because of the path that I have taken and how long it took me to do it. So you get to 99. I wanted to get it done in Huntsville or Knoxville, and I didn't. I had arguably my worst weekend, and it's against two of the best teams, like we talked about, and it's like, all right, I didn't get done there. And then the next game comes, like, all right, I just want to do this. I want to get over with. And how apropos it happens in Quad City against our rival, where I think I played so many good games in Quad. I just love that rink. I love the intensity of the crowd. I love how close the games were. I mean, every game I played, maybe outside of one or two, was like 1 goal or overtime games. I mean, we had so many. I think I was probably in net for like 4 or 5 overtime or shootout wins in that rink. And it's just like every game was close. And then I just was like, all right, we're going to overtime. I kind of had a sense that we were going to score early. And as soon as Bearsy got the breakaway, like, I honestly could have started skating to the pile. I knew he was going to score. He's so clutch on breakaways. And I remember talking to him his rookie year. We were at a practice and we were just around taking breakaways. And I was like, man, do you realize how good your shot is if you release it quickly and you go low glove? And we started working on it a little bit. And then he started scoring low glove like every single time he's on a breakaway. We played a game. It was the school game where we have the 10 a.m. game, and there was like 7,000 kids at the Civic Center. It was an awesome atmosphere. We were playing Knoxville. Game was like 1-1 or 2-2. He gets a breakaway late in the third, scores low glove, and I'm just like, man, that is like his move. And he got the puck, and I was like, I'm already skating. I already know he's going to score, and he buried it. And it just, what a way to win, to close out the regular season. It was awesome to get it done. And it was just very like humbling to afterwards be like, all right, I kind of achieved this thing that as a kid, you don't even know if you're going to play pro hockey. And then you get to be in pro hockey and you're like, oh man, this is really hard to win like one game, right? It's easy to lose. It's easy to tie. It's really hard to win no matter what level. Just to be a part of a win means that you had to play well. Your team has to show up. So to kind of look back and say I've been part of 100 of those, it's just a very humbling thing to think that I was able to stay in the game as long as I have to achieve that as a goalie. Because, I've had great games where I've lost, right? Like I can play really well as a goalie and still lose. So it's like easy to find ways to lose games. It's really hard to find ways to win. And it was just much like the end of the season, it was a large weight off my shoulders. It was nice to get it done, and then it was good to put it in the rear view, and then just kind of focus on the rest of the season.
Be sure to join us next week for part 2 of our interview with Rivermen goaltender Eric Levine.